Hi, this is Gay Hendricks. I want to ask you to do something very special for us, which is pay attention carefully to this edition of the Big Leap podcast, because we're talking about something that could really change your life. And that is how to make the most of masterminds. Masterminds being connections of people that make the whole operation bigger than it could have been on its own. So join us for this. I think you'll find it extremely special and liberating.
Yeah, and one of the things that we're going to talk about specifically inside of the mastermind context is I just came off of a big one with a bunch of people. So I'm going to share, first of all, exactly what they are, especially the newer version of masterminds, and how great ones are run so you can get the maximum out of it, and also how to change your thinking along the way and open yourself up to huge, big leaps. So all that is in this episode. So we'll see you on the inside.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Big Leap podcast. I'm your host, Gay Hendricks, along with my co-host and fellow genius seeker in the world, Mike Koenigs. How are you doing today, Mike?
Another great day, perfect day in paradise, and I just got back from something super exciting that I know we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, well, I'm really excited today because there's a lot of people these days that are in masterminds or want to learn more about how to optimize a mastermind that they're running. And you have got some really fresh information because you just came back from a big excursion where you led a group that was part mastermind and part fishing trip. And so one of your groups of business owners. So I want to find out, I want to kind of get into learning mode here for a moment. And going back to the very beginning, what was the first mastermind you ever heard of or got involved in? The first one I ever heard of was a person who had studied Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich work and had kind of made his life out of creating mastermind groups. His name was John Dealey, and he's no longer walking the earth, but he was a wonderful human being. But where did you first encounter that idea?
I think the first ones were when I got into online marketing, I studied Dan Kennedy. And Dan, of course, is a big proponent, and he sold masterminds. And before I started my own and started delivering them, I got asked to speak at them a lot. So the basic setup was my first information product I created with Ariel Ford. That was the Everything You Should Know program, everything you should know about publishing, publicity, promotion, and building a platform. So a lot of authors, a lot of people used books to grow their own platforms, belong to masterminds. And then the second big group were people who did information marketing or online marketing, and Dan Kennedy being one of the key people. So at the time, I had the Everything You Should Know product. I also had created another product called the Internet Infomercial Toolkit. So I was like the guy who knew about marketing with video. And they'd say, hey, can you come and talk to my mastermind about what you do? So you'd go in, and usually they'd bring in experts. And the whole idea is the whoever was running the mastermind wanted to bring in as many relevant, up-to-date, cutting-edge ideas to help people think better, share ideas, and of course you can collaborate. And if you're there with people from all different walks of life, share your ideas with each other, and you walk away oftentimes with, years of knowledge and wisdom that was filtered by people actually using and implementing it versus going through the trial and error or paying a bunch of gurus or experts or consultants or advisors to help you along the way. So that's essentially it. It was sort of like I got hit all at once over a period of probably 2 years. And eventually that led to me learning enough to doing my own masterminds that were fairly specialized.
Okay, good. And so just if somebody's coming in from Mars or outer space or something and doesn't know exactly what a mastermind is and what its purpose is and what the payoff is for being in one, could you give us a quick sketch of that?
Yeah, sure can. So generally speaking, you're either in generalist mastermind where you're and I would call that usually for the newbie, where imagine being with a bunch of people who are further ahead in life, consciousness, business, health, whatever it is that you'd like to be more of. You want to improve your life. And they're positive. They follow a structure. There's a methodology to sharing information, but also in most masterminds, they use something called the hot seat concept, where you might come in and you would say, hey, here's a big challenge I have in my life or my business right now. I want to solve it. And it could be something like someone would say, I am struggling hiring a COO, for example, or an executive assistant. I've tried, I've failed, it hasn't worked. And someone will raise their hand and say, I have the perfect want ad to find and hire the right person, or I have a referral I can give you, even better yet. I also have a checklist of everything a perfect executive assistant should do for, and let's pretend if you're a doctor, or you would be, maybe you run a manufacturing facility or whatever it is, whatever business you're in, they would have the entire checklist, something that took maybe a decade to develop to keep someone on track. And then someone else in the mastermind will say, and I'll give you mine. And someone else will say, and I'll give you mine too. So now you can create a Frankenstein or a mashup of it. So it literally will give you intellectual shortcuts, thinking shortcuts, processes, systems to get you from where you are to where you want to be in literally 10% of the time or 5% of the time. But the other thing that is a normal byproduct of being in a great mastermind are the collaborations that get created. So I'll give you a real life example before we deconstruct and go from the top. But the mastermind I just led, I invited, it was smallish, and I only had 8 business owners there. Part of that is because I was prototyping a new idea that we are calling Fishy Business. It was actually my wife's idea, but the backstory is I love to fish. I grew up in a fishing family, and it was just part of my normal upbringing. And I also just love helping business owners get more out of life. And I know a lot of really smart people. And so she said, why don't you do Fishy Business? And I'm like, what do you think that is? And she goes, go somewhere really cool that you want to go to. In this case, we picked Baja, Mexico, a little place, a fishing village called Loreto. I should call it a fishing village. It's got about 70,000 people in it. And we flew down there, got an exquisite hotel, lined up some amazing food. And then we had you arrive, we meet, we get to know each other. And then we had a great dinner. And then the first real day together, we did a mastermind all day with plenty of breaks in between. And then fishing day, and then another mastermind day. And then we left, but we left, like in the afternoon. So no one was rushed. It was really intended to be chill. And I'll get into some of the details along the way, but the point of it is I wanted to make sure that this felt like play to me. So work is play and play is work, but also provide a ton of value. And what I can tell you is one of the guys who is there runs an artificial intelligence-based trading platform called Capital Logics. And one of the other guys has relationships with thousands of financial advisors. And just during the trip, they created a collaboration together that they estimate would be worth between $100 million and $250 million. Okay. Another attendee invested $1 million in another attendee's business while we were there, made a commitment for it. So the point is, magical collaborations occur by one of the things that one of my members called strategic stumbling. You literally just meander into something you'd never expect would happen, something you weren't necessarily intending or hadn't thought of before, but because you're in the right place with the right people that are curated, magic always happens. And so that's a long-winded explanation, but I think it does kind of summarize some of the possibilities that occur.
Yeah, well, I've had all of the above happen in groups I've been in, magical collaborations and sparks of insight. And hopefully I've given insight to other people. And so let's segue into kind of deconstructing. So if people have run masterminds or are in masterminds, they can learn a little bit more about how to fine tune these. And if you've never been in one, you get a chance to kind of have a bird's eye view of exactly what happened in a high level mastermind.
Yes. Well, I'm going to start with something that two people said while I was there. The first one is, what matters most is how people feel when they leave. And then another big idea is, what do you do to make people feel really, really, really special while they're there? So I'm going to give you a few items. One of them is how you create an amazing mastermind experience on the front end, and then how you create an amazing mastermind experience while it's happening, and how you structure some experiences throughout. And then I'll tell you a couple things that I didn't even do this time that I intend to do next time when I do my next mastermind. And that's something that we'll talk a little bit about that will make them even more special. So, one of the beautiful things about a mastermind is it becomes a living organism all in itself. And you want to create enough structure so people feel like they're going to show up and they're going to get something and walk away with something. And you have to have enough flexibility so magic happens, because, anything that's over-processed feels over-processed and it feels like work. So you've got to include plenty of time so people can open up, their character shows up, they can create together, collaborate together, and just invent stuff. And so I think, why don't we begin with, and if you'd like, I can tell you a little bit about marketing a mastermind, and then I'll talk a little bit about what happens before, during, and after.
Good. Yeah. Say a word or two about how you went about marketing this, or marketing them in general.
Okay. So this one was interesting in the sense that most of the time, the best way to market a mastermind is through a network you already have, through relationships you already have, or with trust, mainly because most masterminds are going to be fairly expensive. You're going to want people to commit to being together for a year or longer. And there needs to be enough of investment that if they don't participate, don't show up, and don't get involved, it's got to be painful. And there's an old saying, I love it. First time I ever heard it was from Joe Polish, and that is, if you don't pay, you don't pay attention. So this particular one, because I did it as a prototype and I didn't have an ongoing mastermind, I've run masterminds for almost 20 years. But what I did is I threw together a sales page, and I did that literally in about a day from start to finish. And I'm going to just tell everyone there's a place to go and learn and actually see the page I put together so you can see it. And I'll show it to you on screen as well. So the link to look at my page is at MikeKoenigs.com/fish. Okay. And I'm going to do another one, which is coming up. But essentially what's on it is a little video, headline. In this particular case, I call it Baja, Mexico Fishy Business. And a little bit of a description of the trip and why I just decided to do it, with pictures of the location, what to expect. I always try to show photos of the hotel. Like, you want to overcome objections that people might have. I showed this really cool boat that we rented. I wanted people to know, because a lot of the people don't fish. They don't like to fish, or their story is, I'll get seasick. I want to show them we're on basically a high quality yacht. Go ahead. You're one of them.
I'm one of those people, by the way. You're speaking to a person who is gotten seasick on just about every ocean in the world.
Okay. Right. So this is, first of all, I purposely picked a place that has super calm water. Loretto is known for being gentle. It was an air-conditioned yacht. So underneath, there was a place to go. There's plenty to eat and drink. And there were a couple of people who had no interest in fishing at all, but they just came out on the boat ride. And we also had a drone, so we got some beautiful footage. And then here I showed what the food would look like. The food down there is exquisite. And then I was really it's sort of like no fishing expertise required. The captain baits, hooks, pulls fish off, and handles everything. And then the other thing is people would say, well, is Mexico safe? Yeah, Baja, Mexico is extremely safe. Water is filtered. The people are amazing. Most speak English. And then we flew through the Tijuana airport, so it's brand new and extremely efficient. And I covered all that in my video. And then I had an itinerary, like here's what to expect, details. And then I explained that the reason we're doing this experience is to create deep connections, have fun, and expand our capabilities. And then I accepted multiple ways to pay. Now, what's important about this, Gay, is this one, because I effectively did this as a prototype, one of my goals was to design a new kind of mastermind experience. Because in the past, I always sold an annual subscription, usually while I was at an event, meaning I had a captive audience. This one, because I sold that business and I kind of let it go for a couple of years, this one I just reached out. And as soon as I had the page ready, I made a list of people I know who either I'm already working with or want to work with them or want to deepen a meaningful relationship. And my mental theme was work is play and play is work. So who would I love to create and innovate and collaborate with? Who do I want to have a deeper, more meaningful relationship? And who do I think that if they were in a room, 1 + 1 = 11? So curating a group is very, very important. So then what I did is I made this little video that's on the page. And I sent a message that said, hey, so-and-so name, I'm planning a really special mastermind and fishing event. Would you like to see a quick video that I made? Okay, so they have to ask for it. I don't just dump it on them. And I sent it to like 40 people right away. And then everyone who said yes, I copied and pasted the video, and it just said, here's the short video. If you let me know on a scale 1 to 10 if you're in. So I had 3 ins within 20 minutes after sending it. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then I immediately sent up to a page to fill out the form and pay. And one of the rules with something like this, an experience, is it's single pay. And there are no refunds. Okay. There's no backing out. There's none of that. It's like you make a commitment and you're in. And so I got the first 3 right away. And then I got a couple more very quickly after. And then I had a couple stragglers. In this particular case, normally something like this, I'd fill it up instantly, but it was short notice. It was like 6 weeks. And it's in the middle of summer, which is not a great time. It's never a great time to do something like this. But then I had a couple maybes who had to rearrange their calendar and check into this or that, But ultimately, the normal way, if I had my preference, is I'd do some kind of a event or a webinar. I'd fulfill on a product or service, and then at the end would say, what if you had someone holding you accountable, creating an amazing environment? You'd meet people you should know, you want to know, who are going to elevate you and hold you to a higher standard. And you'll probably meet lifelong friends and business partners that I'm going to find for you. That effectively is kind of the pitch. Mm-hmm. And if someone has spent time with you for an extended period of time, the trust level's high. They've probably met some of the people they're already around, and they're like, yes, I want more of this. So in this particular instance, I brought a videographer with me. We shot a lot of content. I had a drone when we were out on the boat, and just caught a lot of great, engaging content that now is being edited into a smaller marketing video. So moving forward, selling this will be even easier. And the intent is to incorporate it into a larger offer.
I like it, except for the fish part of the ocean part.
Well, eating the fish was amazing. So if you like to eat fish, here's something kind of fun. We caught them, and as soon as we got there, they were immediately filleted, and we were in the marina, and they made ceviche and sashimi and Baja style deep fried fish and grilled fish. And everyone there said, there were no exceptions. They said, this is the best tasting fish I've ever had. And you got to think of it. It was like 45 minutes out of the ocean. It was about as fresh as you can get. And in a very clean part of the world, the Baja in this particular area is known for its exquisitely clean water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're developing eco resorts down there. I talked to a fellow a while back who had was building one down there. So it sounds like a kind of a new hotspot for people like us.
Yes. Right now, real estate is blowing up down there. And it's one of the reasons we're actually buying a place in the Baja is because it's not only amazing, but the values are increasing very quickly.
What kind of place are you getting down there? A condo or a house or what?
It'll end up being a home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, maybe bigger. It's a couple hundred yards from the ocean in an area called Todos Santos, which is where the original Hotel California is. It's about an hour north of Cabo. So it's not near Cabo. In my opinion, Cabo's turned into a Miami. Yeah. I don't like going there. It's just too many gringos, and it's the wrong kind of Americans. It's the yucky kind.
People that go there to get colossally drunk for a few days. That was my experience of a lot of it down there.
Totally. Too much stupid in one place is the way I would brand it if I were in my non-politically correct fashion. Now, Todos Santos, on the other hand, is really conscious. It's still relatively undeveloped. And the Americans who are moving there, at least the ones I've met, are highly successful, highly conscious entrepreneurs who have reached a brass ring in their lives and are interested in community without the politics. And again, what I would define as the malicious stupidity that exists in the United States right now. You know what I mean? So, yes. Where in Mexico, there's a different kind, and I say this with all due respect, there's a different kind of stupid, but it's not malicious. And for us, it's a 2-hour, it's easy. We get in and out. It's 2 hours from San Diego, but I'm actually building a studio down there. So, one of my non-negotiables is high-speed internet. That'll soon be solved by Starlink. I'll have access to some amazing people. And the intent is people I love that I'm working with, I'll say, come on down, spend a week. Let's work on your business, have fun. Yes, I'm going to serve you some fabulous cocktails and some fantastic Baja fish, and we're going to get work done in the studio, and you'll walk away, having a great experience. So again, experience. But do you want to hear what the experience of making people feel special during the mastermind would be like?
Yeah.
All right. So here's a typical structure of a great mastermind experience. First of all, you want to make sure people are understood and taken care of ahead of time. So you need to have someone, it's not you, pre-framing the event and making sure they know what to expect, how to prepare, how to get the most out of it. In this case, if there's international travel or travel involved, that's going to take some coordination. In our case, we took care of travel from the moment you landed. So we booked and paid for your flight from San Diego to Loreto. We had transportation. We covered the hotel. So no one had to think about money or stuff. It was just like all expenses are covered in one small fee. Small to me anyway.
How much
And
was it?
one of the lessons pardon me?
How much was it?
This one was only $6,000, which was too cheap, but I wanted it to be an absolute no-brainer for people.
Yeah.
Normally, something like this would probably be a $10,000 experience.
Mm-hmm.
And most masterminds, kind of like they're usually between $15 and $25, even $50,000 a year to belong to something that's going to have, business-minded, high-value people. And that's for a reason, which is, again, if you don't pay attention. If it's too little, people just don't show up. There's always some reason why they're too busy, and the pain of loss isn't enough. And the other thing is, quite honestly, you want to filter who's going to be in the room. And you got to make sure that you've got the right folks. So one of my rules, for example, in a high-level business environment where there are, high-performing business owners, they don't want to be around someone who's struggling to pay their bills and dealing with, non-successful challenges in their life, I'll just say. All right. So, in fact, you will drive away your best people if you don't have the right people in the room. And so there is if you're a beginning entrepreneur, well, then there's going to be a certain caliber class you're going to be in. And if you're going to be a high level one, I've got friends, and I used to run $100,000 a year mastermind. Oh, that was the entry price. And the ones who run the highest end ones, there are no payments. It's if you can't stroke a check for $100,000, you can't get in. Mm-hmm. Right. So that definitely tells you who's going to be in the room. Now, in this particular case, it was supposed to be a sampler. I wanted to create marketing material, and I wanted to try out the idea and not also be stressed myself. So besides making sure they felt special and were taken care of, one of the things I learned, I didn't do it this time, but one of the members said to me, next time, make sure that everyone gets everyone's bio so we know who's going to be there. And also, I'd like you to introduce me by video to these people and explain why you invited me and what I have to offer. So in other words, if I made the intro and I said, Gay Hendricks, I want you to meet my friend Howard, for example, or Alice. Now, the reason I'm connecting you and I'm actually setting you next to each other, or the first night we're going to have assigned seats, is because you guys are both working on, let's say, a new book and developing another series of books, for example. And you guys, I think, could become great partners, great co-promoters. And my suspicion is that the two of you together could actually create an X, right? So if I set the stage and I create a warm intro, I could literally bypass months or years of getting to know each other and you stumbling and trying to figure it out. Right. So the moment you sit down, you both feel like you have permission to have this conversation that normally would have taken a bunch of preamble. So that's one really powerful nugget. Now, what I usually do when I'm doing a mastermind, and let's say you and I were doing a mastermind, Gay, I would say, I'm going to teach a concept that has been responsible for producing, in my case, I'll say $2 million worth of business in the past year and a half. And I've introduced this and used it with my own clients, and I've helped them make a combined 50 million that I know of. Okay. So I'm going to teach this concept. And as soon as I'm done, one of our members, and this is actually a true story, his name is Sean Wells. He's a very famous ingredientologist. He invents ingredients that are used in supplements, one of the most knowledgeable in the world. And he's going to teach us longevity hacks, energy hacks, and brain hacks, supplements you can take that extend your longevity. This is proven science, give you more energy throughout the day and improve your cognition. And they're widely available, but no one knows they even exist. Okay. So I'd teach my concept, and then, we'd do a little Q&A, and then Sean would come in and teach something and do some Q&A. And then we might do an activity together that would create the potential of a collaboration with other people in the room with Sean, who had never thought maybe before of incorporating life extension, health hacks, or whatever. Now, it turns out one of the people who was at this event runs a high-end life extension mastermind. Okay. Friend of mine named Richard Rossi. So he has access to some of the smartest doctors in the world of, stem cells, life extension, longevity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He did a presentation. So the bottom line is every single person gets a hot seat where they can get their biggest challenges, lay it out there. And they also get to present some information and get feedback on it, stuff that they're going to use for interviews, television, radio, their next book, or how they're acquiring and getting customers. So getting this kind of high level feedback that then continues on into the late night when everyone's had maybe a cocktail or two and a great dinner. The dinner conversations are where the magic happens and people break up. So that's essentially it. And generally, again, what makes for a great mastermind, besides the high level thinking, the sharing, giving you a platform, like in this case, I brought along my interview equipment. I would encourage people, hey, if you've got a podcast, why don't you do a couple podcasts with people while you're here? People that would be hard to book time with. And then you want to have an activity that's encourages deep, meaningful connections that are soul expanding and heart expanding as well. And it's important that we as leaders create an environment where everyone feels very safe being vulnerable, opening up their hearts. Because, one of the guys who was there was struggling with a big issue that went back to his early childhood. And he got some very loving but very direct feedback that I think changed his life, that he had been struggling with for over 10 years.
There is a tremendous amount of value in loving feedback from people offered in a genuinely positive context. So, yeah, that can be amazing. Wow. Well, this might be a good time to talk a little bit about our Big Leap experience, our Big Leap. It's kind of what would be the next step beyond a mastermind, a megamind, or what?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because we're not only going to be hooking up people with each other, we're also going to be using a lot of specialized techniques that I've developed to hook people up to deeper levels of themselves and the universe, the world around them itself. One of the big mistakes that human beings make in trying to scale up their business or their life is that they think it's an outside job when a good bit of it is an inside job. Because even to talk to one of those other high-level people, you've got to know inside that you're worth that. And so, to opening up your positive self-worth is one of the most efficient things you can do to creating your outer self-worth. And so that's where we'll spend a lot of our time. Then also, we spend a lot of time working on things you can do in the outer world to increase efficiency and also, in a sense, lubricate your movement through the world so you don't create adrenaline-based drama. You've been in business for a long, long time in many different businesses. And one of the things I'm sure you'll agree with me on is it's not the numbers part of business that's the problem most of the time. It's the feelings part of business and the interactions and things like that, because you can literally burn up half a year's energy on one bad hire that you make that comes out of the wrong place in yourself. And you end up hiring a person that represents some kind of a fractal of yourself, but not the whole person that's attempting to scale up. And so a lot of the ability to get through life in an easygoing way has to do with learning certain hacks about how to keep from creating drama as you scale up in life.
Yes, I think when I listen to you, Gay, what I would say is the whole game, the biggest game starts with your inner self first. and who you attract, what you attract, why you're attracting it. One of the beauties of operating in a mastermind, again, is you're surrounded with people in a deliberate, focused, intentional environment that the founders, the hosts, in this case, you and I, would make certain that safety and security and keeping everything inside a sacred circle happens, first of all. So you have no fear. There's always someone who's going to start out and be the most vulnerable, and that may begin with you and me to set the stage, the energetic platform. And when you have that kind of safety, that kind of love, that kind of caring and authenticity, it becomes a lot easier to open up and get a share of time where, again, imagine if you have 20 people, for example, in a mastermind, and all of them have 20 to 50 years of life experience behind them, okay? And you add those up, you literally have what could be a millennium of wisdom in one place, concentrated through diverse angles, culturally diverse, racially diverse points of view. And that is like a 4D tool at your fingertips, who are able to recall and share resources and tools and quotes that simply would take multiple lifetimes to gain access to. And when that is done in an intentional environment, not only does that multiply you in your very best, but it helps you overcome your biggest challenges, again, with very direct feedback that, frankly, people around you have either gotten used to, or they just don't. You know how it is when you're in an environment where you're like, you just put up with stuff. In a mastermind, that isn't what that's about. It's about a commitment to growth. You're not there unless you're committed and willing to listen and open to receive, and given more tools to do that. So if you imagine that in the case of working with Gay Hendricks, you're going to get decades of wisdom and knowledge stacked, plus his book knowledge, plus his life experience. And, and because we're doing it together, being able to build and grow your business, growing your wealth, thinking differently about money and people, you're getting all that in one place. And that's the unique offer that we have, and specifically what the Big Leap experience is all about, and why, it just so happened that it worked out nicely. We could talk about masterminds and tie in the fact that we're putting together something that's truly unique. And there's a genuine call to action here.
Yes. So more to be said on that as we go along. Well, anything we can say right now to kind of wrap up the whole mastermind discussion? Have you got any kind of exit nuggets for us? Because we need to bring this in for a landing here pretty soon.
Yeah, we sure do. So I think the next thing, and I was actually dealing with it because this literally, I just got off the plane a couple days ago, and I was working with my team on some follow-ups. So the people who are on my mastermind don't even know what I'm about to do, but I'm going to tell you that we took some amazing photos. I had a great videographer. So right before we got on the interview today, Gay, I spoke with my videographer who's giving me a rough cut of the video. So I'm going to be able to send this to everyone who's there. And it's sort of like a memory piece. Mm-hmm. Plus, we're going to be mailing out some really nice photos that are framed to the people. So they're going to take us and have us with them all the time. My suspicion is they'll put it on their desk or put it on their wall, and it's just going to be a memory. And, who are they going to think of every time that photo? They're going to be brought back to what an amazing experience that was. And so when we go back and, we're also scheduling a follow-up conversation with everyone and asking them, where are you on integrating what you learned? And of course, that's going to lead to more business. It's going to lead to referrals. It's going to lead to more connections, because I'm going to say, can you think of one or two people in your network who should be at the next experience? So this naturally, organically grows. And it's being done in a way that comes from a heart focus. This isn't about getting more. It's about sharing and creating deeper connections. And that's, the way we set this up is so it's not this get. It's like, how can we give even more? And I've already had people, the text messages I'm getting from the people is, when's the next one? And normally I have this all planned. This one was purposely set up as a beta, as a test. And I also knew that we were going to be doing our mastermind. So I wanted to make sure that this naturally led into the Big Leap experience. So that's basically the best way I can wrap this up before we tell people where to go and what to do next.
Good. Well, let's go ahead and tell them.
All right. Well, so Gay and I have the Big Leap experience coming up, and you can learn more by heading over to bigleappodcast.com/apply, or you can text the letters BL to 858-434-5316, and you'll get information about the experience. It is application only, just like we talked about today in this episode. This is about making sure we've got the right people in the room. But for you, you're the right person if you want to be around people who expand the way you think. You want to get guided and led by Gay and his wisdom experience. You also, if you're an entrepreneur or a business owner and you either want to create something or find new ways to create more reach, figure out what your message is, how to connect with more people, make a difference. Maybe you want to model and do a mastermind of your own and you want to learn from some people who've done it before. Well, this is a great way to experience something totally immersive. And in addition to this being remote and online, we are planning a physical connection as well. So that's going to be part of the Big Leap experience. So the key thing is just head on over to bigleappodcast.com/apply, or again, text BL to 858-434-5316. You'll get some information, be able to register, and Gay and I will follow up with you and get you some more details about what the experience is like and the investment and how we're going to help you no matter where you are, take you from where you are to where you want to be.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it, and more to be said on that on a future edition of our podcast. So we're talking about masterminds today, getting everybody together on a wavelength to produce a better result than you could produce on your own. So I'm ready. I'm ready for our Big Leap Mastermind.
Awesome. Well, we'll leave it at that. So if you have enjoyed this episode or know someone who you think would be a right fit, who would be interested in this, share the episode with them. And of course, leave some comments on Apple iTunes or wherever you're listening to or watching this episode. Thanks a lot for being here.
Thanks, everybody.